Reading the second part of your message, my heart sank. And I'm really sorry. For sure fell short. And you worked really hard on that. And the way you framed it and how that made you feel, I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability. I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel.
Hey besties. So, it looks like Blake Lively finally cracked under the pressure. And during her deposition, she let slip some information about this so-called smear campaign she's been claiming has ruined her life for months. She's been telling everyone this campaign is why her reputation's tanked and why people dislike her. Not because of anything she's done, but because of Wayfair. Now, it seems Blake is backing away from the very foundation that brought her to this point. The whole New York Times article, where she claimed she was smeared before and during her film premiere and retaliated against, well, that's now unraveling. Her legal team submitted a letter to the judge, attempting to justify why they're asking for Brian Friedman's communications with creators, or anyone really, as well as his bank and phone records. They argued that he's orchestrating a continuing smear campaign, doing interviews and calling her derogatory names. And that this is critical information to have because it proves he's acting maliciously. What they're doing is trying to shift him from an attorney to a fact witness. But a lot of lawyers online are calling that a sneaky and unethical move. It's generally not done. You don't try to drag opposing counsel into your lawsuit and go after them. It's considered bad practice and shows a lack of respect for the court process. It's the kind of strategy you use when your only plan is to take your opponent down because you don't have anything else. It's a deflection tactic, a power move, and honestly, it looks desperate. Kevin Fritz hit back and in doing so revealed some deposition details. And I appreciate that Kevin's tone is becoming more direct. He's not holding back. He's really trying to show the judge that what Lively is doing amounts to harassment via subpoenas. In his letter, he writes, to justify the harassing subpoena, the letter wrongly claims that Brian Friedman defamed Lively and acted as a PR agent rather than an attorney. Kevin's making it clear that Lively is slowly realizing there never was a retaliatory smear campaign from Wayfair. So now she's pivoting her focus onto Friedman and alleging defamation under her 14th cause of action, claiming that Wayfair's attorney defamed her in post-litigation comments to the press. So the claim has shifted from a broad smear campaign to defamation through post-lawsuit interviews. Kevin's pointing out that she doesn't actually have strong evidence of this campaign, so now she's trying to frame it as defamation to get some kind of legal traction. Part of the letter is redacted, but it says that during her deposition, when questioned by Friedman, Lively admitted the only ongoing smear campaign she personally knows about involves something that's redacted. It supposedly came up 2 hours into the deposition. Based on context, it seems related to the counterclaims. Kevin argues that counterclaims filed with a solid legal and factual basis, like the ones Wayfair filed, don't amount to retaliation under anti-discrimination law. He also explains that Wayfair's statements to the press, or those made by their attorney, in defense against Lively's bogus harassment claims, don't qualify as retaliatory either. In other words, she has no real evidence of retaliation. All she can point to is that Wayfair filed a countersuit and made some public statements defending themselves. But they would never have said anything if she hadn't gone public with her lawsuit. She started it. So now she's dropped the mysterious digital army narrative and is focusing on this idea that Wayfair's defense is somehow retaliation. But that argument doesn't hold up. Wayfair's team is citing prior rulings from Judge Lyman that show defending yourself in the press or in court does not constitute retaliation. And when it comes to her defamation claim, the 14th cause of action, Kevin brings up a crucial legal protection. In New York, there's an absolute privilege for statements made during judicial proceedings, whether they happen in court or out, as long as they relate to the case. That means communications between attorneys, witnesses, and parties are protected, regardless of why they were made. So Kevin is saying Lively is going full throttle in chasing down evidence for a defamation case that won't survive a motion to dismiss. The same way her statements were protected by litigation privilege, so are Wayfair's. At this point, they could either file a motion to dismiss or go for summary judgment. Both options could shut this down. Either way, they're making it clear her defamation claim is going nowhere. They also pointed out that Lively still hasn't answered the court's question about how her subpoena isn't burdensome for Friedman. She says it's not because, back on December 23rd, Just days after she had her CRD complaint published by the New York Times, her legal team sent Friedman a cease and desist. So, according to her, he's known for over 6 months that she might seek discovery from his firm. But the judge asked, if she already knows what statements she claims are defamatory, why does she need this discovery at all? And she didn't have a solid answer then, and she doesn't now. Her complaint clearly names the statements and even includes links to the publications. So she knows who made them, when, and where they were published. That makes the subpoena unnecessary and overly burdensome. What it looks like to me is that this is an attempt to invent a defamation claim. She filed the CRD, then tried to silence Wayfair with a cease and desist, essentially saying they couldn't speak out. That's trying to control the narrative, trying to silence Justin, Jamie, and everyone on Wayfair's side. She's acting like any media interview or statement is an attack. But any good lawyer will tell their client, filing a lawsuit opens the door. It puts the issue in a public space, and the other side gets to respond. This isn't a courtroom where only the plaintiff gets to speak. The defense is entitled to present evidence, show their side of the story, and bring receipts. They might even uncover things the plaintiff tried to hide. You can't sue someone and expect them to stay silent. But Blake clearly wanted that. She tried to muzzle Wayfair with a cease and desist, hoping they wouldn't push back, so her version would dominate the press and public opinion. But that's not how litigation works. Then she turned her attention to Friedman, threatening him with legal action if he spoke up. That's not retaliation, that's coercion. Once you sue someone, they're allowed to speak. They have the right to due process, a jury trial, and legal privilege. They get to defend themselves, just like you. So what Blake tried to do, in my opinion, was weaponize the media and the courts against Wayfair, make damaging claims publicly, then threaten legal consequences if Wayfair dared to respond. It's incredibly manipulative. Meanwhile, her legal team was out calling Wayfair's people abusers, Darvo perpetrators, even accusing Friedman of violence. Every time someone didn't speak positively about her, she labeled them part of a smear campaign, journalists, YouTubers, anyone. She's treating Wayfair defending themselves as if it were an attack. But Friedman giving interviews and showing receipts? That was just him doing his job. They had to fight back. They were losing work, agents, and reputation. Projects like Pac-Man and It Starts With Us got shelved. Their careers were being destroyed. Of course they had to respond. From Blake's perspective, it's fine for her to say whatever she wants, but no one else is allowed to speak up. That's narcissistic. Now she's feeling a fraction of what she put Wayfair through. But under New York law, Wayfair's legal privilege protects their right to respond. If Blake had that privilege, so do they. And she can't just strip their attorney of the right to speak. This whole plan to gag Wayfair through legal threats to their attorney is outrageous. It's an attempt to silence their defense. The goal seems to be to intimidate, harass, and shame them into silence, turning any defense into so-called retaliation. That's gaslighting. Whether the judge throws out this subpoena or not, the question remains, how will Blake prove defamation from statements allegedly made by Justin if they're protected by attorney-client privilege? She won't. And in court, she already admitted she wasn't seeking confidential or privileged information. But even if everything she said was true, litigation privilege still applies. Kevin Fritz made that clear. What's ironic is that the same tactics she used are now backfiring. She thought filing a lawsuit gave her total control, not realizing the other side had the same rights. None of this would have been exposed if she hadn't made these outrageous claims. And this just proves again, there is no smear campaign. All those 107 subpoenas to YouTubers and creators? Just a scare tactic. They weren't about justice. They were about silencing critics and suppressing coverage. Last week, I thought about writing a letter to the judge. But after reviewing the Southern District of New York's rules, I realized I probably can't. Since I didn't file a motion to quash and didn't personally talk to Blake's attorneys, only my lawyer did, I'm considered irrelevant to the court. I could maybe support a motion for a protective order, but that would have to come from my lawyer. And I'm not about to spend $5,000 on that just to feel better. So to all the creators still speaking out, keep going. Keep pushing back. I'll keep using my voice to call out what's happening here. This was all done in bad faith. And now Blake's crumbling under pressure. If she can't even back up a smear campaign in her own deposition and is now pivoting to defamation, how exactly is that retaliation? It's not. She's just tossing claims around hoping something sticks. First it was smear campaign, nope. Then sexual harassment, nope. Then ongoing attacks, nothing there either. Now she's pinning it all on Friedman? What a colossal waste of time, money, and legal resources. I seriously hope we get to see the full deposition transcript. Even though it's sealed, I'd love to read every single lie that came out of her mouth. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, besties.